The year of 2012 was a downturn in the economy, and I'd reached a point in my career where I realized there was something I needed to do different, but I didn't know what it was. At one time I was riding down the road on Highway 280, and I prayed to God, what would you have me do? I prayed that, and the answer I felt was Africa. It was no other leading, no other guidance other than a burden for Africa. I didn't realize at the time what it meant. I had no other ties with Africa. We were attending a church at the time that the preacher that served the church had been on a couple of mission trips to Africa. So I went to him and said, did he feel there was anything in Africa that I could do? And a week later, he called me and said that he wanted to have lunch with me, that he had ran into an old friend that he had not seen in about 10 years, and we need to have lunch together. So I met him for lunch, and a man named Lynn Smith came that was an engineer that this preacher had worked with years ago, that had retired and was doing water missions in Africa, not in Africa, but water missions in South America, and was just explaining the need for water in Africa, that it really was one of the main hotbeds for lack of clean, safe drinking water. In the meantime, a young man at our church was trying to go on a mission trip with a couple of pastors, and they told him he needed a partner to go with to Africa, and had talked to one of my daughters and told him that if he couldn't find a partner to go, he would not be able to go to Africa. And my daughter said, even at this time, she didn't even realize that I was having a conversation with God about Africa or talking to Lynn Smith. She told Austin Waters, this young man, that, well, Daddy will go with you. I'll talk to him. Again, unbeknownst to me, that she was talking to him, and she was not aware of the fact that I was having a burden for Africa. So she came, talked to me, and I just felt that that's what I needed to do. So I spent 2 weeks in Africa, came home, and realized that's what I was to do, and that's what God was talking about. So we came home, and that's where Sweetwater started. When we first got to Africa, we realized that Africa is just dotted with failed projects. There's abandoned wells, pipelines busted, and we started looking into, what happened there. Everyone talks about sustainability, but how do you obtain that? Our model is trying to replicate is ownership. People are people, and it doesn't matter if you're in America or the third world. If whatever you're talking about is yours and you own it, then you'll take care of it. If it's not yours, you're not concerned. And so what we feel is you've got to come in, recognize the project, find the community. Then the first thing we'll do is have them organize a community organization. You can call it a committee, you can call it a utility group, whatever you want to call it. Have them buy into it one way or the other, through labor that they will provide, or sometimes actually coming up with a little money. We're talking like $1 or $2. Now they've got value in the project, and once that value is there, they're more likely to want to sustain it. And then couple that with education of this is what we've got to have. Those are the two building blocks for sustainability, that they own part of it, and then they understand the value of what they've got. And so that's the model we're trying to build on. That's not a unique attitude for Africa. Anywhere that once people feel that they own the project, they own or they are part of whatever they're doing, you're attached to it. What we really want is not just somebody to write a check. Well, that's always nice. We really want people to be partners, because now the problem becomes their problem. And once you take ownership of anything, then you're the ones that want to take care of it, fix it, and appreciate it. And so that's when we feel that not only is ownership important in Africa, partners in ownership are important here in America, and not just for Sweetwater, for the problem worldwide. The world needs to understand the importance of. There's almost 1 billion people, 750 million people are without clean, safe drinking water in the world. Every 30 minutes, over 300 people die from waterborne diseases. Once the world takes ownership of that problem, and it's not just a matter of handing out clean water, that will not work long term. We need to take ownership of the problem, and once we do that, then we're willing to work with those that have the problem to overcome it. And if those people will take ownership, then you have the sea change that will change this problem. We really don't have a water problem. We have an attitude problem towards water. The Western world just ignores it, and the Third world just fails to see the importance and the tie to dirty water to so many other problems.
Catch it. No, you don't make that noise. Catch it. Squeeze it. Squeeze it. You know what? I don't want to say you kill it. You clap. Kill it. Okay, mosquito, mosquito. Mosquito, mosquito. Catch it. Squeeze it.